Hi, I'm Heather from Wiggly Wigglers, and this is a series about troubleshooting your worm composter. But in this case, I'm just going to talk to you about the worms because, generally speaking, your worms just compost. So the idea that you've got a problem with your composter is unlikely, unless you've really overfed them or the whole kit is very acidic. As long as you've got worms, and as long as you can see these little specks of compost inside your kit, which is basically worm poop, your worms are composting in your worm composter. The worms we use are composting worms. They're a mixture of reds and dendras. I won't bore you with the Latin name, but this one is an adult. I can tell that because on his 13th segment you can see a saddleback. Can you just see that saddleback there? And that's where your worms breed. They've got some curious reproductive habits. So they each stick their nose in each other's saddleback and do whatever worms do. And then an egg is produced, a cocoon is produced in that saddleback, which runs down the front of his body and drops off. It looks a bit like a tomato pip. I'll see if I can find one for you shortly. In that egg, on this particular type of worm, is between 2 and 15 worms, and essentially that's why he's such a good composter, because he's a prolific breeder. They eat half their body weight every day and they produce compost. As it goes through their body, a lot of the waste that you put in is turned into liquid, and that percolates through these worm casts, which makes your worm tea, which basically is free liquid feed for your plants for life. When they poop, the worm cast is really rich in all the things you need to make your garden grow. So they're amazing creatures. In case you've got any doubts about it, Charles Darwin spent 50 years studying earthworms. In the UK there are 27 species of earthworm, and worldwide there's 2,000. Some of the most amazing, just while we're on the subject of worms, are the ones in where they film I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in Queensland, Australia, because they live in the top of the trees, and that's because the birds take the cocoons to different tree tops, and there's so much humus in those canopies that they survive right in the top of the trees. The record worm, I think, is about 12 foot long, and they basically grind the food through their bodies, and they have lots of hearts, and the most sense they've got is their skin is sensitive, so they can feel ground movement, rain, and that sort of thing. For you and me, the key thing is to keep them as happy as possible inside your worm composting kit, because then they'll do their work at optimum speed. They don't like they don't like too much food on top of them, so just be careful that you haven't got more than a couple of inches of food waste on top of your worms. They don't like to be too wet, so your worm kit will drain naturally. But if you put lots of veg waste in, then add some shredded cardboard or similar. They don't like it too acidic, so if you add lots of onions and citrus, make sure you add an extra lime mix. And worms like to do it in the dark, so put a moisture mat on top of your kit, because then they'll compost right to the surface and you won't have trouble with vermin and flies and things being attracted to your waste. So that's it from me. If you need any more information about worm composting, we've got a series of videos, and if you need a kit or extra supplies, just go to our website www.wigglywigglers.co.uk. Thank you.